The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com and use the code SGPN for 50% off to get 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. And we're also brought to you by our NBA Playoff Survivor Challenge. We're giving away $250 in cash and a $100 gift card. Sign up today exclusively on the SGPN app. And welcome, everybody, back to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Friday, April the 14th. The days are ticking down. The draft will be here before we know it. I am your host or co-host, Moneyline Mac, and joined, just like every week in this NFL season, by my co-host, Mr. Old-Fashioned Football himself, Mr. XFL, JMark Football, and we are talking NFC North. So we have the True Insider. What's up, brother?
How's it going? I feel like it's been a while, even though I guess we did do a pod last week, but I believe that was like on Tuesday. Now we're here on Friday, so it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, just taking 10 days in between. We both were traveling, but we had to make sure that we got some content out to our loyal listeners. And we did my division last Monday with Rod. Rod is traveling as well, so it's kind of travel season for all three of us. But we had to make sure we get this one out. Did my division last week on Monday, and now we're diving into your division, the NFC North. Probably the only, I guess you could throw the AFC North in, probably the only other division other than the NFC East where true rivalries, like all 4 teams hate each other, tradition, and then obviously there's the big question mark of who's going to be the best quarterback going into this year, because it's been the same guy for a decade plus, but I don't think he's going to be back in that division.
Yeah, no, I agree. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. So that whole deal has been drawn out so long. Like we talked a little bit about it pre-show. Is he going to be traded? Is he going to end up being back on the Packers? I mean, as a Bears fan, God, I hope not. I'm just ready for him to get out of the division. But I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, because it does take 2 to tango, and I know he's gone on Pat McAfee or whatever else show. He seems like he does a new show every day, but Pat McAfee was the one that really reported it from day number 1 that he wanted to be a member of the New York Football Jets. But like you said, they want a certain amount of capital back in the trade for a player like Aaron Rodgers. But maybe the Jets are like, man, Aaron Rodgers is at the end of his career. I don't know if we're willing to give up as many draft picks as you want us to give up. So you're going to have to budge a little bit. So, yeah, we'll see. Any other storylines? Obviously, the Packers didn't even win the division. The Packers didn't even make the playoffs last year. Everybody remembers how the season ended with the Sunday night game that ended the NFL regular season, where the Detroit Lions stunned the Green Bay Packers, kind of just punched them in the mouth, Dan Campbell style. Defending champions, Minnesota Vikings, one and done in the playoffs once again with Kirk Cousins, won all those close games. I think everybody kind of is expecting some regression just because of how crazy their season was. I mean, that Colts game, they were down, 37-0 or 33-0 and came all the way back. Maybe a team like the Chicago Bears can make a jump here. What's your thoughts so far early? We're in mid-April on the NFC North.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think the Bears have done a lot of good things in the free agency as far as kind of building. I mean, obviously they did the big trade with Carolina to get DJ Moore and some more draft capital. They brought in some good linebackers that should immediately elevate our defense. And now they can kind of, I think they address the offensive line with the first pick. So I think the Bears are in a good spot. The Lions are sneaky. I hate saying the Lions are good, but I mean, they looked good last year, and I feel like they've just improved. They didn't lose much, especially as losing like any big pieces, minus, I guess, Jamal Williams, who led them in rushing touchdowns. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we're going to see a complete flip, right, of the division, because it's been kind of Packers, Vikings at the top, Lions and Bears tussling for last place. And I think we're going to see that flip where the Lions and Bears are going to be at the top, and then the Packers and Vikings are going to kind of duke it out for last.
Yeah, and we'll dive into some of these early divisional odds, but I think you could very well see a more evenly matched division race this year. I don't think you're going to see a 3-win team. I guess maybe Green Bay, if you are to say one team that could really take a huge step back just because you lose a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You don't know what's up with Jordan Love, but we'll find out. I mean, like you said, Aaron Rodgers is still a member of the Green Bay Packers until he is officially traded. But yeah, let's before we dive into this division. Actually, wait, no, I am jumping ahead of the gun. Yeah, let's dive right into this division. And we'll lead it off with the Minnesota Vikings coming off that historical year. We already touched on it, how they won all those close games. I think it was 10-0 in the regular season and one possession wins. And then, of course, they lose a one possession game in the playoffs to the New York Football Giants. What is your outlook on the Minnesota Vikings going forward, coming into this next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be some natural regression, but if you look at the pieces that have left the team, I don't know if they've lost anything of huge value that results in them being only an 8.5 win team. I mean, that's what they're set at, what I'm seeing right now, under of 8.5. 9 wins for them seems like it's going to hit for me. So I really like the over there. It's a little juiced, -130, but they still got a lot of pieces and they have a really good offense. I mean, I know Kirk Cousins, we all like to give him shit, but he can put up points. He's got Justin Jefferson. They got Dalvin Cook still. They got Alexander Madison. I mean, and TJ Hawkinson, who they got last year from the Lions. So I think the Vikings are in a good spot. I think people think obviously the books think they're going to regress, but I don't think they're going to regress that much.
Yeah, it's interesting with the Vikings. Like you said, they're not the division favorite going into this next year. And I should say that right away. The Detroit Lions are the betting favorite, which is ironic. And you touch on it, like the fact that Detroit all of a sudden is kind of the sexy pick, which they were last year when we previewed the NFC North. Obviously, they've added some pieces. We'll see how they are with the target finally on their back. I mean, there's no hiding now. But they're sitting at +140. I see the Vikings +250, Chicago, your Bears +350, and then the Packers, of course, 5-1. With all the uncertainties, where do you think Minnesota could upgrade their roster? Because I know that you've been mocking some drafts as well over on our website. So everybody go check out JMark's work on the SGPN website as well. Where do you think they could upgrade? Do you think maybe getting another receiver for Kirk Cousins to add with Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I mean, that could help, especially with Adam Thielen leaving. Though I do like Osborne. I think he's got some potential. I think their biggest need is on defense. They're pretty weak at cornerback. They need a lot of depth there. And then the defensive line needs some help too. So in the draft, the mock draft, I have them kind of focusing on that defensive line with their 3rd and 4th picks. But another receiver would help. I have them taking one in the 3rd round, but I think the defense is going to be the real struggle, especially if they believe Osborne can step up and kind of fill in the shoes of Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and they currently hold the 23rd pick overall, and they don't have a 2nd round pick, so they pick in the 3rd round. So, like you said, maybe it seems like wide receivers go mainly in that 2nd, 3rd round. We've just seen it so much over the years. Yes, you can get an elite guy in the 1st round, but I also think you can get quality starters in the 2nd, 3rd, and even 4th round. The receiver class just continues year after year to be, I think, deeper and deeper. I think it's just because of a reflection of college football where they throw the ball more than they used to in the past. So it seems like there's more impact guys that are coming out of the draft. So I think the Vikings, like you said, they were good offensively, and we do always kill Kirk Cousins for kind of choking in the big moment. But there is something said for having one of the top offenses in the league last year. And the reason why we thought that they were fool's gold is just because they weren't very good defensively at all.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah. So, but let's before we dive into the other teams and maybe some of their draft needs, and then we'll circle it back at the end with our kind of best bets in terms of where these teams sit odds-wise in the offseason. I got to get us paid, and we are going to Shady Rays because you got to kick off the new year with the new gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades. customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as expensive a pair as we've worn. Durable frames are extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all, too. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection of all eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is back, lost, and broken replacements. I got a pair myself. It just got in the mail last week. And if you lose or break your pair, even on day number 1, they told us Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have our back after you make a purchase. With Shady Rays, you can look good and feel good. To date, when donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger for the Feeding America. If you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair because they got plenty of other options, or return them for free within 30 days. That's 1 month return fee. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays because their team has always had our back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com and use the code SGPN for 50% off. 2+ pairs polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars, over 200,000 people. And we are also brought to you by the NBA Playoff Survivor Challenge. It is here. Make sure to check out our NBA Playoff Survivor Challenge, completely free to enter, and the winner gets $250 in cash and a $100 SGPN gift card exclusively on the SGPN app because the NBA playoffs are here. All right, JMark, we will move along in the division. And Nick, shout out to the chat. Nick Fortune is in the chat. We'll move along to the next team and what our thoughts are on their current state of the roster and what they could do in the draft, maybe to potentially bolster their roster. And that's the Green Bay Packers. And we kind of already touched on it, where it's interesting with the Packers because there's so much unknown. We don't know who's playing quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback, that 5-1 odds, they're the favorite again. But if he's not, then they're potentially going to be in last place. So outside of quarterback, let's say Jordan Love's there. Where do you have the Packers going in the draft if Jordan Love is the quarterback? And they do trade and they do get another pick in return.
Yeah, I agree with Nick. They do suck. Yeah, it's interesting. This morning I read that the Packers are wanting a second rounder this year and a first rounder next year. It's a lot for a guy who, he's old. Yeah, he's old. I don't know how many years are left in him. And there's no denying that he's talented. As a Bears fan, I do not like Rodgers, obviously, but he is a talented guy. I've got him taking a tight end, though. I think that's a big need for him. And I know it's rare to see a tight end go higher up. They have the 15th pick, but we have some tight ends in this draft that are kind of game changers. And so, I kind of have them addressing the offense with multiple picks, the offensive line, wide receiver, kind of all over the board. But it just really depends on what happens with Rodgers. And if they do end up trading Rodgers before the draft, do they have belief in Jordan Love, or do they maybe see a guy in the draft that they like? I mean, there's so many uncertainties around this team that it's just so hard to call on this one.
Well, I think it would be ironic if they trade Rodgers and then finally in the first round they take an offensive weapon that everybody's been yelling for all these years. They've gone defense, and then defense again. It feels like over the last 5-6 years, the only time they drafted an offensive player was Jordan Love. So it is ironic if they do end up going offense. But I do agree with you. I like the tight end class, and I like the tight end, even if Rodgers isn't there. Like for Jordan Love, what's the best friend for a young quarterback? At the reliable tight end that can get open, move the chains. But if Rodgers is there, another weapon at the tight end position, if he's back, they're going for it again. I mean, he instantly makes him a contender in this beyond weak NFC. That's another thing. I think that we learned that last year is how much parity there is in the NFC, and then Tom Brady's not there anymore either. So it's like just another legendary quarterback that's not there. Do you think – all right, so I'll ask you the first question. Do you think he gets traded? The obvious question. Yes?
I think he does. I think that marriage is over. basically. So I think even though that's the report of what they want now, I think they're going to do what they need to do to move him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that finally the Jets will budge and be like, we could have Aaron Rodgers and be relevant. So I think they will overpay and meet the demands. Let's say they do add, you said first and second round is what you think it'll end up going for, right?
Yeah. Yep. First next year, but a second round for this year.
Okay. So, yeah, let's say they add another first round pick this year. Where do you so tight end, where's another position they could go?
Yeah, I mean they need some offensive line help. They need some defensive help. Their cornerbacks kind of started getting burned last year, and I know they have some solid defensive backs. Especially, I mean, I hate that Adrian Amos, former Bear, is there, but cornerback they're kind of thin behind Jair Alexander, so that's kind of where I see them focusing on. Trying to up the defense there as well.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think everybody kind of pointed to a lot of the issues on the offensive end last year. But to me, the biggest disappointment with the Packers was their defense, because coming into the year, we're like, all right, it's going to be a growing pains with all these young receivers, Aaron Rodgers. The offense will be a work in progress. And I actually thought they were playing pretty well down the stretch before the Lions game. But their defense did not carry them the way that they thought. They had one of the best defense in the league in 2021 when they rolled through and went 14-3, and then of course lost to the Niners in choking fashion, which it seems like they've done time and time again. But yeah, no, their defense took a huge step back. Losing Rashawn Gary hurt bad, I thought, in 2022 with the torn ACL. But I think that they need to tool up that secondary as well to build it from the secondary in, is what I think that they need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I got to get us paid one more time, and I will go over to Underdog Fantasy. And if you are a listener of the Old Fashioned Football, you know all about Underdog Fantasy, because we're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is a great place to get down on fantasy and player props all year long. Underdog Fantasy has your favorite NBA, NHL, MLB daily games. Plus, they are already doing best ball drafts for the 2023 NFL season, which will be here before we know it. Head over to underdogfantasy.com and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. All right, JMark, we are back here, and we got two teams down, which means we got two to go. And we'll go over to team that was playing the best football probably in the division last quarter of the season, the Detroit Lions, and the betting odds favorite. No, the Bears were arguably the most entertaining from like just watching Justin Fields of how many will he break off?
Sure.
How long will his longest run be this week? But the team that was playing the best ball was the Detroit Lions. I think would they win like 6 out of their last 9 coming down the stretch?
Yeah, and they made a good run.
They spoiled the party for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, the Jaguars' only loss coming down the stretch was to the Detroit Lions. This Lions team is good roster-wise, good in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, started running the ball even better down the stretch, and just really physical because of kind of a reflection of their head coach, Dan Campbell. What's your thoughts on this team headed into 2023, where expectations will be as high as ever in Detroit as I can ever remember?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to back Jared Goff, in my opinion. I'm not a believer in Jared Goff, so it's just hard kind of backing him, but showed last year that he can get the job done and kind of start putting it together. I think their defense is going to take another step forward. I think letting Jamal Williams was kind of an odd move. I mean, the guy, he plays hard. He's got a huge heart. The locker room loves him. And letting him go for David Montgomery, and they paid more for Montgomery, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but they must have a vision there of what Swift and Montgomery can do together in the backfield. But yeah, it's hard not to think this Lions team is going to succeed this year.
And I should add that they have good draft capital. They hold currently the 6th overall pick and the 18th overall pick. They got 2 picks in the second round as well, and they have a third round. So they got a chance to bolster up this roster even more than what they had. They've done a nice job over the last couple of years. Dan Campbell and company really building this roster up and having a brand of football that's fun to watch. I mean, I think we can all agree that this was not that boring Detroit Lions team, just the way that they're so physical and the reflection of their head coach. I mean, they 2 years ago were 3-13-1, but it seems like they kind of just lost all those close games and were due for positive regression. This year they go 9-8, and honestly, I think a lot of those top seeded teams were glad that they didn't get in the NFL playoffs. Shout out to the chat. Moonoff's in there. The Machine. Go check out the NBA gambling podcast, MLB gambling podcast. And he says the Chicago Bears are going to win the North. I think JMark might have paid him to say that before the episode. But yeah, it's do you see the Lions, Mr. Mock Draft, JMark? Do you think maybe the Lions trade back and get even more picks? I mean, or do they trade up? Maybe they pair a couple of these picks and move up and get a higher impact guy. Because I think we both can agree that they could be a little bit better defensively.
Yeah, no, agreed. In fact, I have them with their first 2 picks in the first round. They're going defensively. Yeah. Could definitely see them packaging those to move up and maybe take Will Anderson. You know, he's supposed to be the best edge rusher in this draft. Yep. So I could see that. I could see them with that 6th pick if Jalen Carter does fall because of the legal troubles. I don't think that scares Dan Campbell. So I could see them going that way. But I do think they'll address the cornerback too, especially after they just traded Okuda, however you say his last name. They just traded him away. They're done with him, former first-round pick. So, you know, immediately trying to get some replacement value there by replacing him with a top cornerback in the draft. And there are some very good ones that I do think are going to go early on in this draft.
I'm with you, man. I don't remember the Lions ever being in this good a position franchise-wise. I know that people are not high on Jared Goff for the most part, rightfully so. But I thought Jared Goff played well down the stretch last quarter of the season, did enough to win them games. I don't know if he is your franchise guys. Maybe, to be honest, maybe they would be better packaging the 2 picks to move up into the 1st or 2nd pick and get their franchise quarterback. But Dan Campbell seems pretty set with Jared Goff, and they're just going to bolster up their defense and play complementary football, it sounds like. So it'll be interesting. Do you agree with me that this is the best we've seen the Lions in terms of state of their franchise in at least the last 20, 25 years since Barry Sanders retired?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they went through that stage with Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson. They had good pieces, but I don't remember them being as good in the trenches and being able to run the ball the way that they are able to run the ball and the way that they could prove that they ran the ball down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, and if they do address that defensive line with their first pick by getting a guy like Jalen Carter, or if Tyree Wilson is there, I mean, putting any guy like that with Aiden Hutchinson, it's going to be a scary defensive line.
Yeah, and especially to pair with their offense, maybe they get some leads and give these pass rushers opportunities to tee off on the quarterbacks and let guys like Hutchinson pin his ears back. Maybe they do get Will Anderson from Alabama. We'll see. But yeah, no, I mean, the bottom line, the Lions are in a good position, and they will be a part of our ending of our show where we'll give out our early best bets on divisional prices, over-unders. But there is one team left in the NFC North, so we'll dive into them before we give out our best bets. Yeah, and a reminder, there always is a worst to first that always goes and wins a division. Last year, Jacksonville, worst to first. I'm drawing a blank on 2 years ago, but I know from firsthand experience, Washington did it in 2020. They went from 3-13 to 7-9 and won the division. Jacksonville, we saw that. They went from the first pick, and then they won 7 out of 8 down the stretch. There will be somebody that goes from last to first. It happens every single year. And this may be the team. Chicago Bears, I'm going to shut up and let you take over. What are we thinking of these Chicago Bears headed into the NFL draft? They've already made some moves. Take it away, JMark.
Yeah, so I'm actually this is going to be a shameless plug for Old Fashioned Football too, but obviously I'm the biased Chicago Bears fan. So We had ESPN analyst Sam Acho on, who, yes, he's also former Chicago Bear, so he might be a little biased, but his job's to analyze these guys. He's a college football analyst, XFL. He analyzes the players, and I asked him. I said, "Do you think Justin Fields is the real deal?" And he said, "Absolutely. It's just a matter of putting the pieces around him." I think the Bears have started doing that with DJ Moore. And they have Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney now, and Robert Tunyon, I guess, too. I mean, he had some success with the Packers. He's there with Cole Kmet. Now they just need to address that offensive line. And I think this is going to probably be, I mean, even last year, they looked like the best Bears offense I've ever seen in my lifetime. I think they're going to take another step forward if they address that offensive line properly. The defense is bound to be better with the two linebackers we got, Edmonds and Edwards. I mean, those guys are fast. They fly all over the field. So this Bears team, I think, everybody likes to shit on the Bears. The media is always hard on them. The fans are hard on them, but this team, I think, is going to have a lot of success. I think they're going to win games, and I agree with Sam Acho that Justin Fields is the real deal.
Yeah, he's definitely entertaining. I can guarantee that he is going to be entertaining. Yes, Moonoff, DJ Moore, let's go. But yeah, it's year 2 of Matt Eberflus, and I think all you got to do is look over to another divisional foe. What the Lions did year 1 with Dan Campbell, they were 3-13-1. We just talked about it. You guys were 3-14. The Bears, you lost a lot of close games. I thought you were playing good football at the end of the October into November, and then kind of just, I mean, the schedule got tough down the stretch. You were playing. If I remember correctly, you had like Philly and Buffalo back to back coming down the stretch, and the defense just got worn down. Offensive line was a big issue. You've already addressed that. Obviously, you traded out of the first pick and acquired DJ Moore as a part of that package, so giving Justin Fields another weapon. You sit with the 9th overall pick. Do you want another offensive weapon for Justin Fields, or do you want to go O-line or even the defense? What do you think?
I mean, I like taking an offensive tackle here. I think protecting Fields' blind side is probably the most important thing. Seeing a lot of the talking heads talk about them trading back again, and Pittsburgh being one of those. Shout out to Moonoff, bet plus 400 on the Bears to win the division. If I lose, I know who to collect from. If they win, I'll send JMark some top-notch whiskey. Love it. I think they take the tackle, offensive tackle, whether it's Paris Johnson, Skoronski, even Broderick Jones is good. But there's a lot of rumors that the Steelers are interested in that 9th pick, and the Bears potentially getting the Steelers. I think they pick at 16 and that 32nd pick that we sent them for Chase Claypool. If they could get that pick back and the first rounder, I mean, it just kind of seems like a genius move. It's just a matter of if they think there's going to be a tackle available at that point that is good enough to make it worth it.
I agree with you. I mean, they already traded for Claypool last year too, so that's 2 weapons with DJ Moore, Claypool. You already got some weapons. I think you gotta shore up that offensive line, because I don't know if we could do another year where we just watch Justin Fields run for his life with this like a chicken with his head cut off. Like it's, I mean, their offensive line actually wasn't as bad as I think everybody made it out to be in the preseason, but still, I think they went through their lulls, especially against the better teams with the pass rush, the Eagles and the Bills. I felt like he was running for his life against the Packers and the Lions as well with those pass rushers. So yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see them go offensive line. Any chance they trade back again and get more picks?
I think so. There's a lot of talk about that.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's very possible. I mean, they came out and said, like, we might trade up, we might trade down. We're just gonna see what we think works best for the team. So I think they're being very flexible with it. To me, I just, Paris Johnson, he's supposedly the best tackle in the draft. I don't think he gets drafted in those first 8 picks. And that's a guy that played with Justin Fields. Now, he was a guard for Fields, not a tackle, but still, he played for Justin Fields. They're friends. They like each other. To me, that shows a huge commitment to Fields if you draft him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think all the endorsement for Justin Fields was them not staying in that number one pick overall, trading back,
Yeah.
passing on whoever's going to be that pick, whether it's Stroud, Young, or if you want to go with any other option. I mean, I know Mel Kiper likes Levis from Kentucky. I don't know if I'd take him number one overall, but hey, that's that's Mel's guy, I guess, right?
That dude eats rotten bananas, peel and all. Did you see that video?
I did, and then
Like,
there's going to be some momentum for Richardson out of Florida as well,
yeah,
just because of the potential upside. But I don't. I think that you got your answer on if the Chicago Bears do believe in Justin Fields as their franchise quarterback. You already mentioned it with the guest you had on, Sam Acho, who played for the
yeah.
Chicago Bears. He's obviously connected in the Chicago area, so I'm with you. Justin Fields, bolster up that offensive line, play complementary football, and get a better defense as well. And I think you can make the same jump that the Lions did with year two of Dan Campbell. Do it with Eberflus.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Let's dive into some over/under. We'll do the same format Rod did last week. We'll lead it off with the Vikings, who won the division. I'm seeing their over/under at 8.5. Give me the over/under and your logic for your pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go over here just because I expect them to regress some, but not that much. I mean, the offense is still very good. Justin Jefferson's one of the best receivers in the league, and I just think they're going to be able to continue to move that ball.
I'm going to go under. I'm gonna say that they zigzag back to reality. I said it felt like they were 10-0. They actually had 11 wins in one possession games in 2022. I just pulled it up, and so 13 wins. I think a little bit of regression. They couldn't win a one possession game 2 years ago. Then they won them all the next year. I think it meets somewhere in the middle, and they go 8-9. I think this will.
Okay.
But I think that this division, nobody's going to run away with it like last year with the Minnesota Vikings. So I'll go the under. A little bit of regression for Minnesota, and they're not as lucky in those one possession games.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. 7.5. Obviously, it's pending the guy.
Right.
If you know who's quarterback, over. If he's not, then under, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This one's tough because of that. A couple years ago, when he wanted a new contract, the books had the Packers at 7.5, and everybody's like, "Well, Rodgers is probably not going to play there." So I smashed the over because if he does play, they're going to win 8 games. I feel like that situation here, like if you have a little bit of extra cash in your account, throw some on this over because if he ends up playing, they're going to win 8 games.
Yes.
And so it's just a risk in betting on if Rodgers is going to be there or not. Now, if you're dead set that he won't be there, I think the under hits. I don't believe in Jordan Love at all. I think this is the year that they rebuild and get a high draft pick next year.
Yeah, you just heard it. The Bears fan said, "Go take the over on the Packers," because he's realistic, and I think that's absolutely. I if I had to bet it right now, I'd go over just in case Aaron Rodgers somehow is back, because until he's actually traded, it takes 2 to trade. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And I think we saw the absolute floor of the Green Bay Packers last year. They couldn't catch a break, and they still won 8 games. So, like, if you think there's any chance Rodgers is coming back, I'd go bet over 7.5. Now, say he gets traded. Where do you think this thing drops over under wise?
Oof, good question. I'd say 5.5. Yeah,
I think so too. Just with the uncertainty of Jordan Love. So, if you think he's absolutely getting traded, go take the under right now. It's just how you feel.
Yeah.
If you think there's any chance he comes back, then smash the over, because they're not going to go 7-10 with him as quarterback. We've seen it year in, year after. So, let's move along to the next one. That's a simple one. It's we're going to go to the Detroit Lions, who are the betting odds on favorite, and their over under is 9.5. Oh my.
I'm taking the under. I mean, I just can't put faith in Jared Goff. I just can't do it.
I feel like I kept saying this is the best I've seen the Lions in terms of where we've ever seen them franchise-wise and forever. but I can't give out an over on 9.5 with the Detroit line. That's just insane. I mean, come on. Like, I felt that they played good football down the stretch, but we've never seen them as the hunted before. Like last year, I thought that they had some nice expectations in the preseason, but it wasn't, are they going to win 13 games or are they going to go 10-7, 11-6? It was, hey, can they get somewhere in the playoff race? I think that's a different level of expectations versus you're supposed to win the NFC North and you're supposed to be a 1 or 2 seed in the NFC. I'm with you. I'll go under. I'll say 9-8. 9-8. They go 9-8 again. So
it's,
I think that,
I don't know if you saw, but it's juiced too. Over 9.5 is -150. Under is +120. That makes me nervous too, though, because that makes it seem like Vegas is begging you to take that under.
Agreed. Yeah, no, maybe this is the year that they just completely put it all together, but I'm not going to give that out on this show. Until I see it,
when pigs
I'm
fly.
not buying in. I've seen it so many times with these good friends like the Browns, like when they had Baker and all those guys coming back for a second year, and would they go 7-10? I could see this thing going south, where nothing goes right for a franchise where it seems like nothing goes right. I'll go under 9.5 with you.
Like it.
And the final one, your Chicago Bears, over under 7.5. Oh, man, this is great. Like, we're at a point now where the Packers and Bears have the same over under.
I know.
Man, life has flipped quickly for you there.
Right.
I think you're on the over, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm with you. We're seeing eye to eye here. I love the over. And it's not just because we're friends and we're doing the show together. I like the Bears to take that step, kind of like the Detroit Lions, and be around 500 and have a chance to win the division.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's do division odds real quick. We already touched on it. The Lions are the clear favorite. I'm seeing them at a book. Let me know if you see a better odds for any of these. I see Detroit +140. Do you have a better price?
Nope, that's what I see.
Minnesota, I got +250.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago +350. Yeah, we must be looking at the same book. We're not going to name the book until they make us.
That's right.
Green Bay 5-1.
Yep,
+500. All right, I think we're both going to take Chicago +350 because we both think that there's a really good chance that they're going to win this division or be right there at the end to win it.
Yeah. Or we're going to find out where Munaf's getting them at +400 because he's got +400 somewhere. So
he must be lying. He just added 50 just to top us. Would you give out anything else? I would say I'd take a stab at the Packers just in case Rodgers is back.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. If you think Minnesota can make the playoffs, they're +110 on yes making the playoffs. Yep. I don't hate that one. Just because, like I said, their offense is good. I think they're going to add to their defense. So, yes, to make the playoffs. And remember, in the NFC, you don't have to be a world beater team to make the playoffs. You know, you can get in there with a 8-9, 9-8 record, whatever. So,
and if you're really bought into the Detroit Lions being one of these teams, they're +850 to win the NFC. I'm not doing that just because. No. their hype in the preseason is going to be at an all-time high. Looking at everybody else, Minnesota 18-1, Chicago 20-1 to win the NFC, and Green Bay is 22-1.
Worst odds in the Bears. I love it.
If I had to give out any of those, I would say the Packers 22-1, just in case Rodgers came back. But I don't know. I can't see the Bears winning the NFC next year.
What? Why not?
Hey man, I'm giving you the division. You're gonna be the 4th seed.
Fair enough.
9-8, but we will preview the Washington and Chicago NFC Championship. Probably in one of these dead days in the summer. Like it's like what Colby and the college football guys do on the podcast. Week 2 preview. So we'll preview the NFC Championship between Washington and Chicago.
There you go.
All right, real quick. Any chance you're taking your Chicago Bears at the Super Bowl? What do we got Super Bowl wise? What 50-1? You and Green Bay.
Yeah, I knew it was 40-50. Gosh, it's just pure bias that I would say yes. Do I think they're a Super Bowl team yet? No. But crazier things have happened.
And like I said, if you love the Detroit Lions, they're 25-1.
That's
So
crazy.
what a world we're living in. Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Oh my. All right, before we get up on out of here, JMark, tell everybody where to find you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at JMark Football. Give Old Fashioned Football a follow too at Old Fashioned FB.
Yes, sir. You heard him, and you can find me at Moneyline_Mac. We are both in the Discord. Got a lot of college basketball coming your way with the transfer portal being as crazy as NFL free agency. So go check out that. Go check out the college football experience as well. They got episodes dropping. Yeah, that's all I got. And good luck, everybody. What?
Make sure you go to Old Fashioned Football and leave a review. You too, Ryan. Get an Old Fashioned Football T-shirt, 2 samples from my private collection, and Savage and Cook, the distiller we just had on this week, is donating a bottle to that as well. They're going to send a bottle to the winner. So all you got to do is leave a review, and you're entered into the drawing. If it's on Spotify, send me a screenshot. If it's on Apple, your name will pop up. So he's doing it right now. He's like, I already
left a rating. I forgot to leave the comment. So doing it now. So everybody go do it right now on whatever platform. You said Apple and Spotify?
Yep. Just if it's on Spotify, send me a screenshot since that doesn't give names or whatever. But yeah, free whiskey. Yeah. How can you turn that down?
No doubt. Hey, and don't forget to leave the NFL Gambling Podcast a like and subscribe.
Subscribe to the YouTube. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and if you want to watch us bullshit around like we are right now, come join us on YouTube, get in the chat, talk shit, whatever you want to do.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, everybody, enjoy your weekends and don't forget to let it ride.